Hey, John, hey, I just read your thing about the 88 cent bet and the $1.60 bet. That's nice. You can rock out $1,000 on low rolling. Can't beat that. Welcome everybody on a Sunday morning. While we're waiting for Will to join, today's going to be a fun interview. He is a pretty special guy that um, works with so many young children of all ages, and then he's killing it at the high school level and the club basketball level. His program, there he is, right there. Let's go. Good morning.
Hey, morning, morning, morning.
How are you, man?
I can't complain to yourself.
Well, I'm first going to ask you, do you get any sleep nowadays because you're so busy?
Sleep. What sleep?
I knew that was going to be a question.
Absolutely.
I was just telling about how much you impact so many people because you're involved in so many things, and I can't wait to share your story today.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
Well, if you guys don't know, he just his high school program, the Victory Christian Academy, just lost a tough semifinal game to get to the city finals. Yeah, I saw your first quarter. You couldn't make a shot in the first quarter.
I mean, seven turnovers and couldn't couldn't
Oh
couldn't couldn't throw it in the ocean
man, and that's not like you guys to turn the ball over like that, right?
at all. At all. That was our definitely our worst first quarter of the year. That was probably our worst quarter
Because
of
you
the
won
year.
every other quarter after that.
Yeah. Just
Ah, you know what? You've coached. You've been in every scenario. You've been in every scenario. So yeah, it's tough when they get just. Oh, season's over. Like, oh man.
oh, it was heartbreaking. It definitely was. But hey, lessons learned, right? So
But I will tell you to start out what Will did the very next day because he runs a nationally ranked club program called the San Diego Prospects. And the very next night, he left his team that had lost a game, and he has some kids that play for another high school that won a championship. He shows up at their game and helps them celebrate their CIF. I mean, class move, man.
absolutely, thank you. Definitely. We always say that San Diego Prospects is bigger than the basketball program. Where
Oh
once you're a
yeah,
prospect, your family, and we're gonna. I don't care what school you go to, whether you play for me or playing for somebody else.
yeah.
We're always gonna support you.
All
So
right.
that
Well,
that's that's what that was.
thanks everyone for coming in on a Sunday morning. We're going to meet Air Force veteran, nationally ranked high school club program, runs a high school football program, runs a high school basketball program at different schools, which is a challenge in itself, especially when your football team goes deep and basketball practices the next day. You know, how do you do it? So, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. We always start out with everything. What I use. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in San Diego, California. Born and raised in San Diego. Grew up by Lincoln High School over in Southeast,
Hmm.
Bay Vista Apartments, and kind of from there, moved to Memphis when I was 13 years old. Parents was trying something new, and my dad's original family was from out there, so we moved there. By the time we were 13, by the time I was 14 and a half, my mom realized that Memphis was not for us, and
Not
back to San Diego we came.
You know what? We always focus on people and how you brought up and where you going. I want to focus on your dad first. Let's talk about your dad's name.
My dad's name is Willie Gray. He's
Okay.
senior. Um,
Do you carry the junior moniker, or is that part of your junior? Is not part
I,
of your name, is it?
it is, it
Oh, it
is.
is. Oh, I didn't know that.
I am a junior. I kind of shorten it up to Will. Just saying Willie, all the time sounded a little older. So now I use it more because I'm a little bit more seasoned now. I'm not older. I'm a little bit more seasoned as
Yeah, that's a
you
good way
know
to put it.
I was told, when you get more seasoned, you'll understand and wear it proudly. But I'm definitely a junior.
Hmm.
Again, born and raised here in San Diego, but dad's been in my life my whole life.
Yeah, I met your
And
dad.
he's he was originally at 17 years old he went into the Navy, which is why I didn't go into the Navy. Um, you know, I think growing up I wanted to be like him, but challenge him in the same way, in the same aspect. Um, he was a Raiders fan, so I could never become a
Right,
Raiders fan.
right.
Um, he went Navy, so I could never go Navy. Just things like that.
Wow.
At a young age, I was actually I've always been a San Diego. It's not even San Diego anymore. See, I've always been a
Right.
Chargers fan.
Yeah.
But back in the early 80s, I was actually a Washington Redskin fan. And the only reason I was a Washington Redskin fan is because they played the Raiders in the Super Bowl. And
That's right. That's
I didn't
right.
want to cheer I didn't want to cheer for the Raiders.
Right.
So I became a Redskin fan real briefly. Um, and that I think that's kind of where it started between my dad and I.
You'll identify with this too. When we were Chargers, I was a Charger fan growing up too. You were always a Charger fan, and who was ever a fan of playing the Raiders?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you were cheering.
Absolutely. It made every week in my household interesting.
Yes. You met my stepfather, diehard Steeler fan, so I couldn't stand. I still can't stand the Steelers or the Raiders to this day. So,
So
um,
there it is.
did your dad do anything to influence you other than not wanting to follow? Can you say not following his footsteps? But any positive influences on you?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, growing up, when I was young, my dad was actually my first coach. He I got into football, and like I said, I grew up in Southeast San Diego, and we played for back then it was Valencia Park Hornets.
Yeah.
And he was like I said, he was my first coach. He was the reason why I started playing sports. He was the person that I looked up to. Being that guy that it wasn't just about me. Like, I love the fact that he coached me, but giving his time back to a bunch of players who needed a father figure, needed that positive influence in their life. And
Oh my gosh.
my dad was a guy who, growing up, he went through a lot growing up, and I think that was one of the main reasons he coached was sports was something that was his outlet. And so as I was growing up, at a young age, he put me into sports and taught me the values of sports, and taught me things that even to this day I teach my kids that um, are super influential and just exciting. So I was
Yeah, I think the one we're going to get into your coaching because it's vast, but your ability to be a father figure. It's the same thing you said about your dad. You're doing exactly that with not only your
absolutely.
own kids, with a bunch of kids who have guidance, need guidance, don't have any guidance, or influence their guidance. And you're that person. We're going to get into that bigly. I do want to focus on your mom.
Mhm.
I didn't have the pleasure of meeting your mother, and I know you do a tribute to her on your social media every year. Your mom was a big impact in your life, and I know that for sure. And I never got to meet her.
Absolutely. So I mean, my mother was she was my everything. She was the one that, as much as I love my dad and everything, mom was the one that when I was sick, she stayed up with me at 3 o'clock in the morning and make sure I was all right. Or, if something was, she not only had her own job, but she was also at the school, every single day, making sure that, I stayed on the right path and, did the things that was right, that was going to help me out in life. She was the reason why, at a young age, I went to church and had my, church background, and, made sure that I understood, how important things were, growing up, and being a positive influence in society, as I got older. So she was my everything. Um, Obviously,
I,
in 2018, uh, uh, she passed away in a car accident off the 8 freeway. Um, and I got the dreaded phone call about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it just was, I mean, heartbreaking and,
yeah,
devastating. And but she left a legacy, not only with myself, but her, as they famously called her, Gma, her grandkids, where um, every day, she stays on my mind. I have her posted on my desk at work. So,
Yep.
every morning I walk into work, like she's the first person I see. So,
Hmm.
till this day, she still influences me and plays a, impactful part of my life.
I feel that I met Will in 2016 when my son joined his travel program, the SD product, and they were a newer program. And my son's team had just lost to a Madison high school team. They had a couple players on that team that said, Cameron, you need to come play, because Cameron was the captain of his high school team, was actually a very accomplished high school basketball player, but unknown into circles of basketball, and
Right.
joined Will's SD prospects team probably in their second or third year of existence. And the the memories from that program, just playing a lot of local tournaments, but the chance to play, and I'll get into this later on. We got to play all over the country. Will sacrificed, and he ran a program that didn't run for profit. We just paid the bills that what it cost, and we'll get into that because it's not the norm. Because there are travel programs who coach for profit and make
Right.
you pay coaches, and Will did it on the dime, not even the dime. We paid to the penny what it cost to get these kids opportunities to play in New Orleans, in Missouri, in Dallas, and we did it on a shoestring budget. And we fed each other. And we drove. I helped drive that one trip. Will and I
Right.
got speeding tickets in Arkansas, getting from one. We were nose to nose driving on this lane freeway in the middle of nowhere, and there's this state. He's sitting up on this perch. I'll never forget it because it's a hilarious story. I get clocked for doing 86. He gets clocked for doing a little bit less than me. But there was a typo error on your ID that said you're only 5 feet tall.
Yes.
And we made a joke. It was hilarious. Oh my gosh. But he's got 5 or 6 kids in his car. I got 5 or 6 kids in my car. We're leaving one tournament trying to get to tournament in Springfield. But on that trip, we also included a life changing moments. We went to Little Rock Central. We went to
Absolutely.
places that are historic in the sense of this country's eye-opening experience. We took the kids. It was a learning trip. We went to a school that was the first integrated high school in the country, and
Right.
I'll never forget the moment we're driving through Harrison, Arkansas, and on our program we had a multi cultural team, and we pull into this town, and on the billboard there is the Ku Klux Klan logo
With
right
the
there on
clan
the
sign. That's right.
right there on the sign. And we pull up to the red light, and there's a car that pulls up next to us, and
Yep.
I don't think we're staying here.
We're not stopping to get gas in this town. Absolutely.
All right. So siblings.
Siblings. I have two brothers and two sisters. I have one older brother, Omari Broussard, and I'll tell you the story. For my mom and dad, it's from their marriage. It was my sister and I, my older sister Lashonda.
Okay.
Before my mom and dad was married, my dad had a son, and his name is Omari Broussard. He's a 20-year veteran. He retired from the Navy, which
Mm,
was ironic because my dad had never been in his life. He met him when he was 1 years old. The mom moved away, and he had never been around him since. Growing up, we heard stories of having a brother, but because we didn't know who he was and never met him, it just
correct.
never did
Yeah.
anything. I'm at a barbecue. I'm 31 years old, maybe. I'm sitting at a barbecue and I'm doing what I love to do, which is play dominoes.
Yes. I played with you
And
before. He's
and
taught me.
I'm
He's taught me a few lessons, by the way,
yes, sir.
through
Yes,
through
sir.
butt kicking, through butt kickings.
And
And I did.
and
I
so
won one game, and the room was like, "Someone won a game."
and that's what makes the story so ironic because I'm playing dominoes and sitting across from me
No
is
way.
this young man who's 15 years into the Navy at the time, and I'm kicking his butt. And I'm talking the whole time. And I'm like, you can't beat
Uh,
me. You can't beat me. So I win the game. And when I win the game, I look at him and I say my name. Say Willie Gray. Say Willie Gray. And he's looking at me. And a bunch of us were laughing and joking. And he gets serious for a minute. He says, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Will Gray." He's like, "Is your dad's name Will Gray?" I was like, "Absolutely." He says, "I think I'm your brother."
Shut up.
And I immediately get on the phone. I call my dad. My dad doesn't answer. I get on the phone. I call my mom. I say, "Hey, mom, I know that I had an older brother. Do you remember what his name is?" She says his name was Omari. He's sitting right across from me at the table.
Oh
That's
my
how I met my
God.
older brother.
How small a world is that?
31.
That's
He was 34. I was 31.
wow. How incredible.
Absolutely.
Oh, you guys have a relationship now?
So we have a relationship now. He actually lives in Texas now. That's where he retired to. But he comes to town maybe 3-4 times a year.
Okay. That's
And
incredible.
yeah, we talk probably every other week. But amazing story, incredible story. One of those movie stories, right? That's not a real life story. This stuff
Right.
doesn't happen in real life, and
Right.
that's
Well, first of
that's
all,
what happened.
why is he at the barbecue that you're at? Just by chance?
Just by chance, it was a barbecue here in San Diego, and it was. I mean, San Diego's a big place, but it's a small place,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
everybody knows everybody in San Diego, and that's literally what it was. We just happened to know somebody in common, and he was there, and I was there, and people went to the domino table, and that's if we don't play dominoes, we're probably in the same location and never meet each other.
Wow. That's crazy. What a
So
that's an incredible story.
so
And stay connected and the whole thing is really cool because you don't have to stay
absolutely.
connected, you know?
Absolutely. And then obviously, I have my sister LaShonda Gray, who we grew up from birth together, and that's my older sister, and she was the one that kept me in line the whole time. Um, we talk. She lives maybe 5 miles from me. We talk every single
Okay.
day, maybe twice a day, 3 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's the big part of it. So
So first of all, I want to thank all your family for their service, and then we're going to get into you joined the Air Force at what age?
I joined the Air Force at 18, 18 years old.
And what was the decision? Because I've heard of Air Force schedules. I mean, you're a busy guy. The schedule requirements for an Air Force cadet is beyond anything. We always talk about the Air Force football players and because I'm very involved in sports, and their
Right.
schedules on top of that being an athlete are incredible. But what was the schedule like being in the Air Force?
I mean, it was we were up by 5 a.m. You know, PT at 5:30, breakfast at 6:30, and then we're off to our day. Days would end around 9 o'clock, and they give us a little free
Mm,
time after that. That was the beginning of it. But the thing about the Air Force, and it's that I would say probably over any other branch, and I'm thankful and grateful for every branch of service. Our motto was more of pay attention to detail.
hmm
Um, it wasn't as much physical as more mental. Um, Everything that they did challenged our mind. Everything they did was, you know, something to know your surroundings, pay attention to detail, understand, what you're putting yourself in. Think before you react. And for me, it probably the best decision of my life.
Really?
I was young. I'm sorry, and I was 19, but I had my oldest son at a young age, and one of the things that my parents did teach me was take care of your responsibilities, and
Yeah.
at that time, that was my responsibility, was to take care of my son, and that led me to the Air Force.
So what
And
was your focus? What was your focus of training? And did you have a desired where you
um
were going with that?
yeah, it was actually funny because I didn't want to do just any job. Just being completely honest, I didn't want to go into the military. I was never going to go into the military, and I went in there, and I was joking around, and the recruiter said, "Why don't you just take the PSAT? Let's see how you do." And I took it, and I scored very well on it. And they're like, if you went into the military, you'd be able to pretty much pick any job you want. Da, 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 da. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go into the military. And he says to me, "What are you doing right now? Do you play any sports?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I play football and basketball and blah, blah, blah." He's like, "What if I tell you that if you're good enough, you'll be able to spend most of your time playing sports?" I signed up for the Air Force the next day. And I signed up the next day, but I wanted to make sure I had the right job. So I did do a communications job. So I had to wait 6 months before I actually got in.
Mm,
Um, but it was the best training I've ever had. Like I said, and again, it set me up for, what I like to believe is, being having a successful life right now. It all started with the Air Force, and making the decision to enlist.
wow.
So
Well,
yeah,
I
that,
know
that
you're
was that.
busy then. I get you're a busy guy now, so you just used to being busy.
It's so funny because when I'm not busy and I have time to relax, I don't want to relax. But then when I'm busy, I'm like, I just need a day. So,
Oh my gosh. Thanks everybody being in chat today. We have 100. It's going up and down. If you're just looking for the first time, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. We're growing the channel. Everybody. We've had a great interview series today. Will Gray's our guest today. We're going to get into his family stuff now, and we're going to talk a lot about his coaching experiences and working with youth of all ages, and his work as a counselor and a mentor. How did you meet? I met your wife. I adore Kia. How did you meet Kia?
we met back in 2004. It was again. It's funny because it was a by chance meeting. I was actually friends with her sister,
Mm.
and I can't remember exactly what her sister and I was talking about, but she was like, "Oh, we're gonna go out tonight. I'm gonna bring my sister, and you're gonna bring your friends." And we went to the 94th Aero Squadron, and
That was a
uh,
spot. I remember that was a
that
spot back in the day.
that was the spot back in the day. And it's so funny, and she's probably gonna come out the room when I tell this story, but it's fine. Um,
Is she watching right now?
yeah, she
Ikea.
watching. Yeah, she's
Ikea.
somewhere. Um, Kia, okay, maybe she went outside, but I'll tell the story while she's outside. So I'll tell
uh,
my version.
oh,
So
okay. That kind of story.
there you go. So we're at the club, and I meet her sister. Or I met her sister there and all that stuff, and her sister introduces me to her, and instantly, like, I'm like, oh wow, okay, but I try to play it cool. So we're talking for a minute, and we go out and dance, and I tell her, and I was a jerk when I said this. I said, I don't buy women drinks. And the reason why I don't is because then either they think you're trying to stay attached to them the whole night, or so I'm like, I don't buy women drinks. I said, but I'm gonna give you a choice. I'm gonna buy you one drink, and I can either give it to you now or I'll buy it for you later.
Well,
And
the ultimatum right off the
yeah,
bat.
right. And so I braced because I thought she was gonna slap me, right? Because I'm like, I was being a smart butt. And she says, I don't need you to. She says, I don't need you to buy a drink for me. I can buy my own drink. So obviously, she goes to the bar. I go to the bar. I buy her the drink. Um, we end up talking, the rest of the
Hey,
night,
Becky.
and lo and behold, um, her sister's friend. That this is the funny part about it. Her sister introduced me to her before she introduced me to her friend. I didn't know
Hmm.
her friend was the one who actually liked me. Her
Ah.
sister's friend. So it started a big argument because I met the sister first. I met Kia first, and Kia and I hit it off. And come to find out, like a week later, that Kia's sister lost her best friend because she didn't introduce me
First.
first.
So they stopped being friends.
So, huh?
They stopped being friends.
Yeah, her sister and the girl since
Oh my gosh.
2004 they haven't been friends. They so I
Ah,
ruined I ruined the friendship by falling in love with Kia. All right,
that's awesome.
so
So what does Kia do?
Kia's a nurse. She's a registered nurse at Rady's Children's Hospital. She's been there since
Oh man.
2004. I actually met her as she was graduating and getting ready to take her nursing license, and she's been there taking care of kids ever since. 20
It's
years now.
amazing. You guys have that common thing about you guys because you take care of a lot of kids on the one side, and she takes care. Radies is like the beacon of childcare here in San Diego. It's
Absolutely.
amazing. That place does amazing work. How about you got you have your children? I've met your two boys. I've met Trey, and I've met. We're going to talk about your young son in a second here, but you have how many? What about your children?
So we call ourselves the blended family. Not the blended family, the Brady Bunch. Um, I have I had two older boys, so I had Trey, who you know, and
Yep.
I had little Will, which he's the third, who's my oldest son, who's currently in the army right now. He
Wow.
chose the army probably because I chose the Air Force. So
And you didn't
the
choose the
tradition
name.
goes on, right? So we got grandpa who was Navy, dad who was Air Force. So son chooses Army. So he's my oldest son. He's stationed in Hawaii right now.
Mm.
He's married. He has one son, Josiah. We just found out 2 weeks ago that they're pregnant with their second child.
Hey,
So I'm getting ready to book my ticket to Hawaii in the next couple months so I can
nice.
go visit. And then we have Trayshawn, who's the my second oldest. Obviously, played for the prospects. That's where I met you and Cam at, and obviously Ellen. And
Yeah.
so that was my two older kids. Kia had two. So I had two boys. Kia had two girls, Morgan and Michaela, who were both older as well. And then when we got together, we waited. I don't know 4 5 years, 4 years. And we said, hey, our kids are all pretty much teenagers now. Let's start over. So, so hence we
Yeah.
have two younger kids, giving us a total of six.
Yeah. You are the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
All right. So like Trey was okay. We're gonna get into the coaching stuff now. Um,
Okay.
when did you know you wanted to work with kids in any way?
I actually started working with kids my second year in the Air Force. Um, I was asked to volunteer to coach a 5 year old basketball team, and um, it
In the
was
Air
probably
Force.
in the Air Force, and
Wow.
it was probably the worst experience of my life. And it turned out to be the greatest experience. I mean,
Okay.
I was 22 coaching 9 5 year olds, and
Wow.
it was
Patience.
just 2 minute attention span, and just trying to get them to pay attention. It I thought I'd never coach again. But in saying that, by the end of the season, it turned out to be the greatest experience, and being able to have those exact same kids that caused me heartache and headache come back and give me hugs and tell me thank you. I
Yeah.
think I think then I knew that coaching was for me.
We've had a couple of guests on that have used the word coach in their lifetime. Like one of my favorite stories ever. I coached basketball at Steel Canyon High School, and one of the players, unbeknownst to me, ended up being mayor of Coronado. Ricky Bailey is the mayor of Coronado, but he
Oh wow,
played for me. But he played for me as a freshman. So we're going through, and I see him, and I go, "How you doing, Mr. Mayor?" And he goes, "Hey, coach. There's nothing more rewarding than a kid you coached 20 years ago.
absolutely.
Still calls coach is like dad or grandpa or coach is such an endearing term that they still call you coach, which means you made an impression on their life in some capacity. you've made a change in
Absolutely.
their life because you still get called coach. I still have that moment once in a while. When I saw Ricky Bailey, like literally like 5 to 6 months ago, he was doing a speech, and I was in Coronado just having some fun in the sun, and there he is, and I go, "How you doing, Mr. Mayor?"
Yeah,
Coach, so fun. You probably had that moment a lot.
absolutely. I've had
Yeah,
multiple occasions. I was at a jazz festival, and I actually had one of the young men that I coached a long time ago, and he came up to me, is like, "Coach, what are you doing here?" And I turned and I looked at him, and I was like, "Wait a minute, are you even old enough to be here?" And he was like, "Coach, and this is what he did. He's like, "Coach, I'm 22," and at the time, and I'm like, "Wow, like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been that long." And like you said, I coached a kid when he was 8. So, the fact that he was still calling me coach, and
yeah.
a great feeling.
So, Will, you because you're a counselor, you work. Talk about your work first, and then we'll get into the coaching part.
So actually, the funny thing is, my actual job is I do accounting and finance for the school district. Um, and I went away from doing, and this is why another reason I'm actually thankful for my wife. I went away from my original job, which was communications, and 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 um and I went back to school went back to school, finished my degree at a older age, and went into finance and went into accounting. But in the private sector for accounting, my days would start at 7 a.m. and end at 7 at night.
Yeah,
Just long days, and always tedious, and always work. I come home and crunching numbers and doing this, and I was trying to coach in between it, and it wasn't allowing me to coach. And
yeah.
I had a conversation with Kia, and I was like, my life passion, my calling is to be a coach. Um, but in order for me to be a coach, I was going to have to move out of the private sector and move into the school district.
Yeah.
And in 2012,
But you're also making a financial decision. I'm going to lose, leave it.
and this
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was a huge financial decision, right? And as I said, this is why I'm so thankful for Kia. And let me phrase that. That's another reason I'm thankful for her, right?
Yeah.
Is because when I sat down with her, I mean, and we're talking, a $45,000. This is back in 2012. We're
Yeah.
talking about a $45,000 difference in income
Mm.
from going from the private sector to the school district. And she told me, if that's what's going to make me happy, we'll figure it out. We'll work it out.
Wow. Wow.
And I, uh, I went. I immediately put my 2 week notice in,
Wow.
and I moved over to the school district, where it allowed me to work during the year while my kids were in school, but it gave me the summers off, which is how
Yeah.
we were able to travel,
Yeah.
and do other things. And I've been coaching ever since, and
Yeah.
we it's been just a blessing. Like it's
So
definitely been.
I'll get into the first. So you were assisting, and then you got the head coaching job at Kearney High School football. Now, for those who are not in the Kearney High School was a local powerhouse back in the '70s and early '80s. Kearney High was the spot to be for winning football. They have a history there, rich in history. Will took over the program, couldn't get 20 kids to come out for the team. You know,
Mhm.
and the recent history was a terrible 1-10, 1-9, 2-8. You know, not winning. And Will takes over this program. And I remember because I did film for you one year, and
Yes.
I was the video guy, and I was new at it, but I was having a blast. And I filmed all of our prospect stuff, and I can't imagine your film sessions were, you had to make do because I was still a fan watching football games for free. So,
Right.
but he turned a program around, and within 2 years, he's playing for a division title. He's playing for a playoff spot, and got. My one question is, how do you get kids in the way you've done? How do you get kids to buy in when there is no buy in before you got there? How do you get that?
I think one of my special, I guess, special gifts is I do a great job, or I believe I do a great job of being able to relate to um, kids' backgrounds, and being able to see where they come from, and being 100% real with them, even if that means sometimes being tough on them. They know that I'm genuine. They know that what I say, I mean, and mean what I say. But I'm also able to enjoy the moment. I make it fun for them. And I think by making it fun, they buy in, and once they buy in, you get a couple to buy in, and obviously they tell their friends, and so far and it builds from there.
Yeah. It's because you got kids. Yeah, I mean, your son played for you, and there's a whole dad son coach thing, and there's a whole dad not son coach thing, and we'll talk
Absolutely.
about that in a second. You were interviewed on the local news about that exact subject with you and your son right now on
Yes.
KUSI. KUSI does a great job. There's a local news station, but they do a great job with local high school sports and youth sports. But Will was a featured guest 2 or 3 weeks ago with your son, who's a very accomplished, very highly regarded, with a chance to play at the next level. His young son is he's amazing. So, and I knew
Thank
your
you.
young son when he was about this feet tall,
Yes.
running around, yeah, chasing us around. It was crazy. But so then he takes Kerney, and now they're in a position when you were there with a lot
Mhm.
of success. And Kerney ain't no good. Kerney's good, you know.
Yes.
And I remember the year you made the play. First, you had 22 players. You got 15 guys playing both ways, and
Yep.
a lot of effort. But you got kids. What the great thing about that is you got kids to buy in, but you got kids to get to play at the next level. They left this
Yes.
struggling high school program to play at the college level, which is an amazing
Absolutely.
thing for yeah.
Absolutely. So again, one of the things about that is a couple of things, right? When I took over the program at Kearney, this is one of the things that I told the kids, and I did the same thing when I coached the girls at Claremont and took over at Hoover. I say, if you do your job as a student, number one, take care of business in the classroom. If you take care of business in the classroom, number two, if you want to play at the next level, do the things that's going to get you to the next level, meaning put the extra hours in off the field, be coachable, do things like that. It is my job to bring guys in to help you get where you need to be. So part of it, and I owe a big part of this is to my assistant coaches. Um, no head coach will be where they're at without a great staff.
Correct. Correct.
And they did a tremendous job of helping me get these young men prepared for the next level, and getting their film out, and talking to coaches on their behalf, and um, you know using their connections as well as the connections I have. It was it was definitely a team effort, and but that was the thing that I promised the kids. If you guys do your part, I will also bring in the guys that will help you get to the next level. And everybody did their part, and it worked out. In a 3 year span, we had 17 young men that went on to play at the next level.
From a program that was doing absolutely nothing in regards
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
before they were doing nothing. I've been involved in programs, and my son's played for programs where the coach goes, I'm going to coach my 25 games. We're going to win or lose in the playoffs, and then my job is done. Not
Mhm.
one phone call, not one call to a coach. Hey, I got a couple kids got a shot. If you want to kick it, look. Um, and that's I don't want to say they're in it for a paycheck, but
Right.
there are coaches in for a paycheck, and that's what we talk about this club program. We're talking about in a second about for
Of course.
profit and this and that. So then, not only does he do that, so he gets a chance to coach at another once powerhouse program, Hoover High School. He is now are you a glutton for punishment? He's now resurrected another program, Hoover High School Cardinals, which was well, back in my days when I played in the late '70s, early '80s. Hoover High School and San Diego High were a huge rivals, and Hoover High was pretty good at a lot of sports and always good at the big three: football, basketball, baseball. And
Yes.
they've come on hard times. So,
Yes.
what makes you make a decision to leave a program that you've resurrected and now to go? You know what? I need another project. Let's go take over Hoover High School.
I think the Hoover program was more about, um, for me. It was more about the need for a coach to be there that understood the community, and understand the background, and challenges off the field. It wasn't even about the on the field stuff. It was when I was young, obviously I had my dad and for a time period, and there were things that happened in my life that sports saved me and helped me become, like I said, a better person. And at Hoover, they didn't have that. It's always had the history. The young men have always been there, but they were getting lost to gangs and making other choices that didn't
Mm,
benefit their life.
yes.
Um, so me going there initially was, and I talked to the admin about it, and Jason Babineau, who was the principal at the time, is one of the greatest admins in San Diego County that I've ever met. But he was a big reason that I went there, and him and I had the same vision of being able to get these young men off the street and get them occupied in something other than that. And again, we got there. I had 13 kids
Mm.
that came out, and you know and we went. That was the COVID year, so it really wasn't any sports going
Oh
on.
my God,
Um,
multiple challenges. The first year,
but
COVID year, that's crazy.
but here we are. Here we are now. I just finished year four, um, and we made it to the semifinals of. We fell short from getting to the championship game, but um, we had a kid that came out this year, and great young man, and he played 1 year football for us, and I told him last year, I was like, if you come out and play football, I promise you, I'll get you an offer for the next level. That young man is now headed to play D1 college football after a year of playing. This year coming up, we have probably 5 or 6 more kids that will get the opportunity to play at the next level. And a lot of it is just buying in and choosing
Buying
to
in.
be part of a program rather than in the streets and doing things that they're supposed to do right. So definitely proud of that. I would probably say that's some of my happiest moments of being able to
Absolutely. Yeah.
do that. So
Yeah. I coached high school sports for 15 years at Mount Miguel and still El Capitan. And I remember going in, we were one of the most talented. We went 25-2 my first year and won a six, CIF title at Grossman as an assistant coach. I'm like, this is fucking easy, man. I win a title your first year. And then my buddy and I take over the program at Mount Miguel. And the first day we had 12 kids, and 2 of the kids were the best basketball players I'd ever seen at the high school level. And then the first grade report comes out and they're straight F.
mhm,
And I'm like, do you realize the decisions you're making? No, I'll just go play JC. And I go, your behavior now tells me you're not even ready to do any work at all. You can be
absolutely,
the most talented basketball player in the city. You're never going to get discovered. And I said this: welcome to a world of janitorial work, because
absolutely,
that's the level you're. I'm not choosing this for you. The school's not choosing it. Your parents,
right,
you're choosing this level.
absolutely,
Um, and either embrace that and you're okay with it, or you can make choices that now as a high school junior you can make the choice here, because I go, Arthur, you're the most talented player I've ever seen in my life. 6'5", could do whatever he wanted to do, jump out of the gym, dribble, handle the ball like
right,
anyone I've ever seen, and just chose to not go to class and just get straight F's. And I go, never saw him again. So I have no idea what happened to him,
so
because
disappointing,
yeah. So by the end of the year, we have 6 players. 6
right,
going ineligible, and it's you've been through that, and but you've.
absolutely,
That's what I say. How do you get kids to buy in? And just I think it's you've seen where they're from, and moving to Hoover, and you said it when you started, to go and make an impact on kids, and I know where they come from because I've been there. You know,
absolutely,
and to be the voice, and the thing is to be the consistent voice.
yes,
You can be the voice in the first meeting, but if you don't
right.
back it up with the second and the third, say hi to Ellen.
Hey, there's my favorite.
I'm handing out.
Sundays is her coffee day with her girlfriend. So,
Ah, well, look, come here, kid, here.
all right, come back,
Look,
come back, Ellen,
look,
come back, Ellen, come back, Ellen.
she's heading out too. Look, she was getting dressed.
What? No,
Ellen,
why?
we have the same mind.
He's been bragging about you. Trust me, he's been bragging about you.
That's right.
Good, all good things, right?
Absolutely.
I told him how you went after me when we first met at the club, and
Oh my.
That's the face right there. That's the face.
the
That's
face
the
says
face
it all,
right
right?
there.
On that note, I'm gonna exit stage left.
All right.
Nice seeing you guys.
Bye, you too.
Bye.
All right.
That's so awesome. I love seeing your wife's so fun. Yeah, but being the consistent voice and mean what you say and walk the talk, that's
Right,
the big thing.
absolutely.
So so then you've taken over two football programs at the same time, still running the club basketball program, and you add Victory Christian Academy high school basketball coaching at the same time. How do you bounce? Like Hoover made the playoffs, and because when the regular season is over, basketball starts the next day. Playoff
Yeah.
is extra. How do you run a football program in the playoffs and run a different school's basketball program at the same time?
Remember that comment I made about having great assistant coaches? A lot of help. A lot of help. It's definitely challenging. But it's something that it's like anything else in life, right? If you make a commitment and you want to do it,
Mm,
you make time for the things that you want to do, and you find out a way around the challenges. And again, having great support and helps out tremendously. So that's how I'm able to do it, because the support from the household and my assistant coaches and the players
yeah.
understanding that this is what we're doing, and they trust in what we're doing and what we're building, and the program that we're putting together. It allows me to be able to do both.
I remember when Victor Christian Academy started out, they were a low, 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 low Division 5 program
Hmm.
with, and they would get hammered by anybody they played, the Calpatras and all the Holtvilles and the smaller Brawleys in the team. Now you're playing in Division 2. You're playing in Division 2 against the big dogs, and with success. And I want to bring up your young son, because your young son is quite an accomplishment. From the little guy I met, about 2 feet tall, he's much bigger than 2 feet tall now, and
Absolutely.
and he can flat out play. He's one of the leading scorers in San Diego County, and he is getting looks from. And I don't want. I'll let you say that. Talk about your son.
He actually he actually just walked out the door. He's headed to training, right? Which he's just finished his sophomore year. He's he was second in our team in scoring, led our team in assists, steals.
As
He's
a sophomore.
as a sophomore, he's regarded as one of the best players in the county. He currently holds a D1 offer from South Carolina State, which he picked up after his freshman year.
Hmm.
He's he's being looked at currently by Idaho State, Colorado, UCSD, um, and a couple other schools
Yeah.
that have shown interest in him, and we're expecting this summer for him to
Yes.
have a even bigger season and hopefully pick up a few more offers.
Because as a young guy, the first offer you get is pretty special, but then all of a sudden the mailbox must be getting filled up a little faster than normal with all the letters, and the phone rings a little bit more, because recruiting is so much different than, because all the instant information coaches have access to now with video and coaches passing video. And because back in the
Absolutely.
days when we were recruiting, I got recruited by two college baseball teams, and it was by the coach had to make the call, or you're never going to get discovered, or
Yep.
and I had two offers one of my senior year, and my grades weren't good enough, so I went locally and got injured my first. Anyway, that's a different story. But the way recruiting works now, there are recruiting services you pay a couple bucks to, and video is amazing because it gets
Right.
kids looks from schools that you would. I mean, South Carolina State on the other side of the country gets to make a call from 3,000 miles away as the first call, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. It definitely was. I found out before he did, and I didn't say anything to him. I waited for the coach to actually call him, but
Mm,
it was it was definitely a surreal moment. We were leaving the tournament. Actually, we were in Memphis, and we were leaving the tournament in Memphis, and we were playing against the top 24 teams in the nation. And long story short, he played his first game, and I knew he was good. I know he's good, but I had never seen him play like this before. And
mm,
I called Kia because she was here in San Diego, and I told her, I was like, I'm in the corner right now hiding because I was shedding a tear because as a dad, I'm no longer the coach right now. I'm
yeah.
the dad, and you do all this training. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and You have 2 days of training and all this stuff that you do from the time Jaden's been doing it since he was 6 years old. And to see him play against the top kids in the country, and he had 35 points, he had 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals in his first game.
As a 14-year-old.
As a 14-year, I ran in
That's crazy.
the corner under some bleachers, and I had a tear come out, and I had to call Kia, and I was like, I gotta hurry up because I can't see anybody see me crying, right? So I told her about the story, I told her about the game, and then we go back to the second game, and now we're playing the number 2 team in the country, and he goes for 32 points, 9 assists, and I'm just like, who is this kid? Like, and so it was a great moment, and I don't know if but I'm literally sitting in a hotel with Eddie House, which is an ex NBA player. He was a
Yes, his son
broadcaster
plays for New
for
Mexico right now.
right. So I'm sitting in there talking to Eddie House, and he says, "I'm coming to watch your son because he's a baller," and I'm like, "This is Eddie House we're talking to." By the way,
Right.
which I was playing dominoes with him, and I was beating him too, but.
Did you
But
make him say my name, Eddie?
Say my name. So it was just a great experience, and I, it's something that obviously, you've been around with the prospects and you've seen it, and
Yeah.
the bond off the court. I mean, the memories that they make off the court are even bigger than what was done on the court.
Yeah.
But that for me, that was a truly a special moment.
So here's
Being
the
in
question
Memphis.
I was going to ask earlier. Is you mentioned it on the TV show you were interviewed by KUSI today. Father son, father coach, father son coaching my son on the same team. How do you balance dad time versus I'm gonna get on your ass because I'm your coach right now? Make sure you separate this.
Years of experience.
Yeah.
I was so bad at it with my oldest son. When I coached him, I was more of a dad than a coach,
Yeah.
and I set my expectations on him as a dad versus realizing as a coach, this is what he does and this is where he's at. I'm at a point now where I've had those years of, he's my third son I've coached now, right? And I'm able to, as a coach, say, this is your role on the team. This is my expectations of your role. And as a dad, I can proudly sit back now and just enjoy the things that he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he understands, we're on the court. He's not allowed to call me dad. It's Coach Gray or Coach Will or Coach this, Coach that.
Yeah.
And after the game, he understands that once we leave the gym, I'm not going to talk to him as a coach anymore.
Yeah.
It's dad time, and the one thing I try to make sure I do is I embrace the good of what he did. Whether it was a win or loss, I embrace the good of what he did, and then I tell him as a dad, hey, now we got to get back in the gym and let's keep
Yeah.
working.
That's the thing is you get a kid, like you said, your kid's going to training on his own right now, and he's been doing it since he was 6 years old. That's the separation because the D1 kid at the high school level, that's the kid that went to training on his own. That's the kid that went to weightlifting on his own. That's the kid that made his own
Absolutely.
contacts, and that separates the kid. Yeah, I can play. I'll wait for them to call me.
Can't do that.
That call ain't coming.
It's 50,000 other kids out there that's
Correct.
vying for the same spot as you. What are you doing to
Yep.
separate yourself from
Yep.
them to show a coach? As a coach that's recruiting you, this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're asking
Yes.
somebody
That's their employment.
that's right. That's what we do for a living. So you're asking me to trust that I'm going to put my job in your hands because I'm saying that you're
Yeah.
worthy of coming to this program.
That's a
You
true
got to show it.
statement.
You got to show them
Yeah.
what you're capable of.
Yep, that's exactly right. I had one of the epiphany moment. I think for even Cam, you loved Cameron to death, and Cameron played for you for 2.5 years. And from you have kids. I'll tell you this: you have kids in your Victory Christian Academy that their role is not to be in the starting five, not to be in the first three off the bench, and you need those kids because they are the ones that make your starters better in practice, and you have to embrace that role. So Cameron and I'm coaching his little league team, and he's my shortstop. He's my pitcher because he's one of the best athletes on the team. And the shortstop makes an error while he's pitching. He comes in, he's criticizing, and I just looked at him and I go, if you ever criticize your teammates again, you will rot on my bench. And this is my son, and the whole bleacher turns and they go, Coach just yelled at his own son. No, I didn't yell at my son. I yelled at my pitcher.
That's right. That's right. And that's facts.
Yes.
That's facts.
So how the next question is, how do you balance high school football coach, high school basketball coach, two different schools, and a travel club team that goes and plays all over the country? And you're at one point I saw the ranking. You guys were number 10 in the country as a club program. 10th, guys, not in the city, not in the state. 10th nationally from the program that I started out when you guys were young and building up. You decided at the time, you had older kids, you know what? We're going to go all the way down to the bottom. We're going to start at 8-year-olds. And you took a group of 8-year-olds and they played, and that's the thing. You grow as 9s and 10s and 11s and 12s. And now you're 12-year-old playing against 14-year-olds because they know how to play and they can play together and they know where he's going to be at when I throw this pass. Coach knows where I'm going to be scared. It's about, and now you're recognized nationally, and you have Ed House coming to see your kid play. That moment doesn't happen without 5-6 years of preparation. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
There's the separation again from the let's go play ball to no, we're going to play ball.
Right. And I think when we're talking about especially San Diego prospects, and the reason of them getting started and the reason behind San Diego prospects, it was number one, it was never to make money. It was to give young men the opportunity. And at the time, back then, we also had a girls program as well, which
Right.
but it was never for me. This was never an income opportunity. It was to get our youth an opportunity that they probably wouldn't have gotten from anywhere else, right? A lot of club teams, I know most of them, I love most of them. They do it for a source of income for their living.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yes.
me, this was my way of giving back. So us traveling across the country, us doing all these things, Coach Brown and I, we paid out of our own pocket for our own hotel rooms. We paid our own gas. We paid, I mean, you were there for the second trip. Our first trip that we took
To Florida.
yes, we the first time we ever went anywhere, we actually it was 7 kids we put in a van with Coach Brown and I, and we hit the road and we stayed at a Motel 6, and we put all 7 kids in one room and said, "Don't complain." And not one kid complained because they never had that opportunity. A lot of them
Correct.
hadn't been outside of San Diego.
Yeah.
And for me, even today, we have kids that come back and talk about, Coach, I remember that trip. Oh my God, that changed my life, and this and that. And they're friends till this day because they built a bond off the court. And that was the vision that we had for San Diego Prospect. All the success that happened after and being able to say boom and be able to be recognized nationally, that was never the reason why we did it. But we're
Right.
grateful for that because now
Yeah.
we have kids that live in Ohio. We have kids that live in Atlanta and other places that they're able to go to those places. And when they get there,
My
they say,
parents.
I played for the San Diego Prospects. And they'll make the team because everybody across the nation knows who San Diego Prospects are. And it's a
Right.
fantastic feeling.
Right. It's
So,
a when they use the word program, it is truly a program, and multi levels. You have multi tiers, but you made a decision because when Cameron played, it was probably the last older group you had. You had high school seniors that were Robbie Robinson played at Nevada
yeah,
University. Your son who had a pretty serious football leg injury that kind of
yes,
stunted his senior year kind of thing. It was I remember I filmed that day. You're coaching
yes.
the football team, and your son has a serious leg injury, and you got to go from your dad. Oh my God, that's my son laying there. He's out of the game. He missed the next 4 or 5 games. Oh my God! But I still got 25 other kids. So go deal with
Yeah.
my son. I remember we went and we took the kids to Xavier University in New Orleans and played. And this is when nobody knew who we were.
No,
And we played this team from Mississippi that was talking mad crap.
they were
And
sponsored by Adidas. Absolutely.
yes, they were sponsored by Adidas, and we're hanging with them, and we end up beating that team. And they're like going, "Who the fuck did we just lose to?"
Yep.
But then the next game we played the Nike sponsored team, and they put on a dunk clinic.
Oh yeah. They put on a show.
Oh my God. you know. But we were with them for a while because we were a 3-point shooting. Anyway, that's different. So my
Yeah.
next question to you is, how do you two high school programs, two different sports, nationally ranked club programs? How do you find family time?
To be completely honest, the family's with me most of the time.
Hmm.
It's a sacrifice that, like I said, not just myself, but Kia's made and the boys have made, and everybody's on board. So when we travel, everybody travels together now, and we try to find our family time around sports time now.
Hmm.
Kia and I, next month we're headed on a jazz festival cruise to get us some us time. We went to
Yeah.
New Orleans for
Essence.
uh, the festival, and
Yeah.
got to hear our Frankie Beverly and Mays, and
I'm
so
bringing it up. Look, I'm bringing it up in a second.
so we work our family time around basketball because right now that is our focus, and
Yeah.
it was a family decision, and we're all involved, so we love it.
Yeah. So on top of that, so Will has he love the secret's out. Will loves to sing.
But
Loves
I
to
can't,
sing.
but I love it. Yes.
He loves it. So we were at a tournament in Anaheim one time, and at the same time, there's a Frankie Beverly, Joe, and somebody else singing at a concert in the sports arena. And he's coaching the team. He can't leave. He's got all these kids in a room. He can't leave. Well, I'll be back tomorrow morning because you're not going to see. I go, yeah, I'm going to see Frankie Beverly, man. Because that's kind of that's my guy. I grew up with Frankie Beverly in May, so went to the
Hmm.
show. Man, I'm so jealous. So I was at the show and I taped uh, before I let you go, I taped it on video and I sent it to Will's
Yes.
Facebook page. So Will would have a taste of the show. So
Yes.
um,
Yes. Yes.
Will would go to whatever city we were playing in and find who's ever got a karaoke lounge and just to get his little fun.
Got to have our karaoke.
I remember I met your dad the first time I met your dad and you go, Bucks, get over here. Dad, this guy likes Frankie Beverly Mason like we do. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your go-to when you get to when you sing in front of your friends? Because I've seen you sing on your big barbecues. He's got the mic. When he's on mic, he's the show.
My go-to is "My Girl" by Temptations.
Okay.
That is my go-to, and I tell the story every time about when we were in Vegas, and um, we were at a karaoke lounge, and I went to sing "My Girl," and this is with the younger prospect group, and it was a lady on the floor, and I was singing, and next thing I know, the lady was on the floor. So I tell him the lady was so trans by me that she hit the floor when we were singing. And really, what happened was, I think the floor was wet, and she did a spin move, and she actually fell. So I helped her out. But my story is, I sang so well, she
Oh
lost it.
gosh. There we
I, I,
go.
I I brought her
Yes,
off her feet.
I believe you. I believe you. We've been going an hour. I told you an hour go by so fast. Your story is so amazing. I can't tell you. We got 150 people in the room watching you right now. Tell your story. Thank you guys all for coming out today to meet Will. Um, what's the
Definitely,
future
thank you
look like
guys.
for you?
We're going to continue going strong. I'll be doing football and basketball, and we're spring, and we're actually merging San Diego Prospects with multi-level basketball, and they're sponsored by
Hmm.
Under Armour. So we'll hit the
Wow.
we'll hit the we'll hit the trails this summer, and we'll be up Under Armour under multi-level, and we'll continue to do our thing and giving back to the community, and changing lives, hopefully.
So now you got a national sponsor for your nationally ranked program.
So we're we're
Wow, that's big
we're
time, man.
we're trying to do it.
That is big national sponsor. Under Armour. That's a name that everybody knows, man. That's crazy. What's your and any? I would say, or I suppose, any last words of wisdom that you can impose on our viewers today?
Um, I will say this, and this is for me, um, is at some point in time in your life, somebody's helped you to become the person that you are today. Um, there's there's kids out there that needs that positive influence, that positive role model, and it doesn't matter what your background is. I would always say or ask anybody that if you possibly can, do something to give back. Whether it's take 5 minutes out of your day to explain your job to a young man or a young lady that possibly, you know, could be in your shoes in 10, 15 years. I know for me that's been huge, and you know, like I said, somebody saved me when I was young, and
Mm.
and it was sports, and you know, for the rest of my life, I will coach until
You
you
can't.
know, until I can't walk no more, and it's time to hang it
Yeah.
up, and I'll probably be sitting in a wheelchair coaching. So, but that is my way of giving back, and I truly hope that there's somebody on this live right now that either currently does it, or this will inspire them to start doing something that way.
Man, that's awesome, man. You made. I mean, you're a dear friend of mine. You made an impact to my son because you get to play in places that he never would have got to play in
Right.
across this country because of everybody's influence. And you talked about the sense of family and stuff. I know when your prospects go to games, your parents are heavily involved. You have cookouts, you have domino festivals, and when I know this for a fact because it's on video, when one of your players makes a 3-point shot, the whole gym goes
Boom.
boo, and the other teams hate it. They hate
They
it.
hate it.
They hate
They
it.
they hate it, which is why we do it.
That's why you do it, and you even do it louder. So,
Absolutely.
man, thanks for coming on today, man. I couldn't wait to share your story today. I've known you for was it 8 years now, and I still love you like my brother. And we have
Thank you.
gambling stories to tell too. There's a whole gambling side of Will
Oh
that
yeah.
nobody needs to know about right now. I've seen him in that. That might be for another show, but man, I love you, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I definitely love you as well, man. And I'm grateful and thankful for everybody that tuned in today. And you guys,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming out. Hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Next week, Bama Tech from the the Texas Alabama border, and then we got our Keenan Nation. We're hosting an event in Las Vegas for 160 of our viewers coming out to meet and greet and having a good time. Then after that, we have Julie Scardina, world-renowned animal ambassador, who's been on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, been on Good Morning America. She's coming on our show. It's going to be so much fun. Um, Thanks, man. Coming to have a great Sunday. Tell your family we said hey.
Thank you. Will
All
do.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Thanks for
All
coming
right.
out.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.